Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. We have quite a few features to talk about. First off, I will walk us through our agenda here. So we'll be starting off with talking a little bit about Staging Drive, which is a new addition to how we can host pre-processed documents. Then we have some updates to our legal holds feature in questionnaires and how you can export information from the platform. There's some additions to our search term reports as well. So allowing you to import a CSV to get that information into the search term report a little bit faster and more efficiently. There's some changes to how we handle redactions, what you can make redactions look like, and things that you can actually redact in spreadsheets. So we'll go over that. There's some ways that we can break up chat segments and work with those as well. So you can now decide how frequently you want to break up those chat segments. And then there's a few changes to Storybuilder that we'll cover, mostly visual, but you'll see what those look like. And as we continue to add to our API, there's another endpoint that we'll talk about as well. Now, as we go through this session, please feel free to use that Q&A feature. That'll be on the right-hand side of your screen. You can ask questions throughout the session, and we'll answer those for you as we go throughout. So let's jump into our first feature here, the Staging Drive. So Staging Drive is a place to store our documents before we're ready to actually review them. So it's a highly structured storage area for those native documents, and it's designed to help you organize large zip files like email archives before we're processing them for review. So in this Staging Drive, you're not going to be able to open up and view those documents, but you can create folders to organize the zips, and then you can promote those to either an ECA project or a review project when you're ready to start that review process. This is an additional add-on to Everlaw's annual subscription. But most annual customers will get a small complimentary amount of Staging Drive each month. So if this is something that you're excited about and you want to learn a little bit more about, feel free to reach out to your customer success person, or you can go ahead and fill out this form that we're going to drop in the chat for you right now. And this will allow you to reach out to someone and they'll contact you about setting up Staging Drive. So let's take a look at what this will look like on the platform. So I will first go ahead and jump on over to our platform here. And I'm in the organization home here. If this is going to be a feature available to org admin, so I clicked on my org home and that will take me to this page. Then to access Staging Drive, we'll see a new tab on the left-hand side here for Staging Drive. Here I can see I already have some folders that are organized for me. I can create additional folders with the plus button. So we can make one here. This will just create that space for me to put in one of those sets of documents I need to upload. You can also have nested folders. So within this one custodian one documents, we have some additional folders and a zip file. So you can make as many nested folders as you need and then move those documents where they need to be. When you're ready to go ahead and upload something into Staging Drive, you can use this upload button, drag and drop those files from your computer, and then we'll get those into the platform for you. So this is actually going to automatically zip up the documents for you if you drag them over here. So if you drag over an open folder or a zip folder, it is going to zip it up for you regardless, and then you'll be able to get that information into Staging Drive. There's a couple questions about why we would use the Staging Drive instead of storing it on premises. It's just a place to kind of keep it organized for you within Everlaw, and it makes it much faster to add it to the platform too. So once you, that'll be our next step here. If I've decided, the things in this particular folder, I'm ready to go ahead and upload, I can just click that, press promote, and it will let me choose which database I want to add that to. And it's just one step faster than, storing it offline and then having to work with it there and then get it into the platform. We kind of already pre-processed it for you. And you can keep things organized all within the Everlaw platform together. Okay, next up here, you can also delete any of the information from your staging drive if you'd like to as well. This is important to know because after I go ahead and promote something to one of my projects, it is not deleted from the staging drive. So the staging drive will hold that set of documents because you may want to add it to additional projects. So once you've promoted it and you're ready to remove it from staging drive, you can just click on those sets. You can go ahead and use that delete button, and that will remove the documents from the staging drive. If you have questions about, how much data you will have and what the costs are, I definitely encourage you to reach out to your customer success person at Everlaw, and they can walk you through those conversations. It is going to be obviously a much lower charge than anything in review or even in ECA, since you're not looking at those documents. It's more of an organization tool for you. Great. So our next feature here is legal holds. So we have a couple updates to legal holds. We can now add questionnaires when we're sending out a legal hold notice, and there's some additional options for importing and exporting the information from our legal holds. So let's take a look at that on the platform as well. So that's still within this organization home. I'll click down here to legal holds. And our first one is going to be questionnaires. So I can go ahead and press this new button, make my new hold notice. This stuff is all the same. So if I'm connecting this to an existing matter, I'll select which one. We'll give it a name. Cool. So this part's all the same. Select which custodians you're issuing this hold to. We'll draft that notice. I'm just making this simple for us so we can go ahead and get to the new step. Great. And you'll see within this wizard, there's now the questionnaire step. So the questionnaire will allow you to send out a set of questions to the custodians you're issuing the hold to. And this can help you gather some additional information, like which devices they've accessed the data on, for example, or any additional questions that you need to ask of the custodians. And if you'd like to include this questionnaire, you'll just make sure this box is checked. If you go ahead and uncheck it, then it'll be the same workflow as before. There's no additional questions being sent out. If you'd like to create some questions, you can use the write questions option. There's lots of different types of questions that you can create. So select from one of the options here, and then you can start writing out your questions. Maybe a checkbox, like where did you access this data? And then you can fill in any of the answers, laptop, iPad, phone, etc. You can add some other or all of the above, some none options, whatever you need to there. You can decide if these are required or not. And then, of course, add additional questions if you need to, of different types, lots of different ways to organize the questions that you're working with. You can also add in some logic to these as well. So we can see our next tab over here is logic. You can add additional rules. This can really make your questionnaire dynamic depending on the answers of certain questions. You can skip to additional questions or even end the survey there. So if if they answer question 1 with any of these 3 then do this other thing, right? So you can work with the logic, you can create additional questions, and you can get the information from the custodians that you need when you're issuing this hold. Okay, so we'll save that. And then you would continue through the rest of the legal hold notice building. And then once you send out this legal hold notice, it will include the questionnaire. Again, you can make it required or not. And then the custodians will need to answer the questionnaire before they acknowledge the legal hold. Okay, then the last few things, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one we've made. So we'll get back to our page here. There are some additional options for importing and exporting information about your legal holds as well. So if you need to maybe update some of those custodian fields, you can use this import custom field data. So this will allow you to add additional fields or update the fields of those custodians. You can use this downloaded template here to give you an idea of what it should look like. That'll give you the structure that you need so you can add any additional columns or update the columns that you would like to add there. And then you can quickly update that across all of the custodians in your directories. Additionally, right next to that, we have some more export options. So this was a highly requested feature about exporting the custodian summary. So this will give you a CSV here. It's going to have all of the custodians within the legal holds, and it will also have all of the information associated with those custodians and the holds they are a part of. You can use the filters on here to narrow down what you are interested in, and the ones that are left over is what will be exported. So you can really customize the information about the legal holds that you want to get out of the platform. Cool. One more thing while we're on our org home, this is just a small update for you, but now databases will additionally have not just a created, we go to the correct one here, not just a created date when you're exporting things from your database sizes, but it will also give you the person who created that database. So you can now see the user who made a new database or a project from the database sizes exports. So that'll just be one additional field for you to gain a little more information about when and who created the database. Okay, back on over to our slide. Okay, so a couple updates for redactions. You can now add white borderless redactions to your documents, and you can also redact spreadsheet tab names as well. So if you're working with those white borderless redactions, that may be useful if you have some scanned documents with handwritten notes. This is what those will look like. So it will still have the read-through gray redaction pre-production. And once you go ahead and produce that document, you'll have a completely white borderless redaction. If you choose to include a stamp, then it would be white and borderless with the stamp in the middle of that redaction space. Because this is something to be aware of, and you probably don't want to do on all of your redactions, it will produce a warning in the production QA page. So you'll have to acknowledge that warning before you go ahead and produce the documents with that white borderless redaction. And one note here, you do need to apply the same redaction style to all of the documents in a production. So you may need to split up your production protocols a little bit and change things up if you have some documents that you need with the white redaction and some kind of regular black redactions as well. You also have the option here to redact the tab names in a spreadsheet now. So of course, before you could redact the entire tab and sheet itself, but now you can actually redact the names of those tabs. So I can show that on our platform here too. If I click into a spreadsheet, just clicking on our redaction tool, that's going to highlight those tabs at the bottom for redaction. I can just choose to redact that. And then the same idea, you can choose to add a stamp if you like. And then that would be in place of those names when you go ahead and produce this document. Okay, some good questions coming in around redactions again. So can white redactions be blocked or enabled in permissions, or is it all or nothing? So choosing to make those white redactions is only going to be available to people who are in an admin in the productions stage, right? So the person who's creating the production protocol will be able to choose that setting. So if other people are making redactions on the platform, those permissions don't necessarily need to be changed. But whoever's in charge of making the production protocol will have the permissions available to create those white redactions. And the default is definitely a black redaction. So that is the default option. If you're starting with any of the Everlaw templates for production protocols, it's going to be black. We're just including the option to have white if you need it. Okay, one more feature here are the chat segments. So we've been able to work with chat segments for a while and chat data, but we're giving you a little bit more flexibility in how you break those up. So since those conversations can span months, this functionality gives you a little bit more control on how you split those up across different uploads. So now when you're uploading native chat data, you can choose either the small, medium, or large chunks, and this will give 25, 50, or 100 messages within one kind of document in the chats. You can also, of course, choose the 24-hour periods. So if you'd like this to be split up daily instead, that is an option as well. And these are all going to be in the native uploader and those advanced settings for chats. By default, we'll do that medium setting for you. So 50 chats per document, but then you can change that if you need to. Cool. Next up, we have some updates to our search term reports and how those will work. This is a really nice update if you ever have had to transfer information from one search term report into a new project. You can now import the CSV export from a search term report. So we've always had that functionality to export the terms in a search term report. But now when you are generating a new search term report and you go to add multiple terms, you can actually just import the CSV that you get from another Everlaw search term report. And this will retain all of those search settings like the text fields or the metadata or the contents that you're searching across. So it makes that process a lot easier. And instead of previously where you may need to copy and paste those terms into the new search term report, you can just simply import that CSV. Okay, a couple updates to Storybuilder here. The people profiles will look a little bit different. We'll show you that. And then there are a lot of kind of small visual changes to dive into if you're interested. So the biggest one that I'm sure you've noticed if you spend any time in Storybuilder is the tabs have kind of changed where they're located. So the people profile has actually been pulled out into its own tab that you can see on the left-hand side. Previously, it was part of the timeline. Now it has its own tab on the left. There's actually no functionality changes here. It just looks a little bit different for you to use. And this is in preparation for some additional features that we'll be rolling out in the next few months. With that, there are a lot of kind of smaller visual changes that have happened in Storybuilder. I'm going to go ahead and link in our knowledge base article here about this release, and this will go over all of those visual changes for you. So if you notice something a little bit different, feel free to investigate this document I just linked into the chat. That will show you each individual change, where things have moved, what it looks like. If you ever need to update some internal documentation, for example, you can see all of those visual changes. And as you may have noticed, we're quickly building out a lot of the functionality for our API. This month, there's no exception to that. So we have added the ability to search to the search API to include the document metadata. So if you've been using this before, there's the Git project search results. It now has an optional parameter that you can include. That's include metadata. When you set that to true, then the metadata for those documents that matched your search will be returned by the API as well. There's also a new endpoint that's been created, the Git project document. For this one, you can put in the document ID, and that's going to return the metadata for the document, including any Everlaw metadata, semantic, or source metadata. If you're using the API, you want to learn more about those particular endpoints, I'll link the documentation for you in the chat as well. So here you can access that new endpoint and what the parameters are if you want to start incorporating that into your own workflows. And lastly, we have a couple new resources to share. These are always exciting. You know, we're always trying to keep up to date with some new resources and add to our extensive library of resources to help you all out. We've actually included a transition hub from our training center. So this is an awesome place that's specifically made for people transitioning to Everlaw from another platform. It has some articles and videos designed to call out differences in terminology, help navigating the platform, and especially focus on some areas that are quite different in Everlaw, like the search builder. So this is what it looks like. If you're very new to Everlaw, you can see what it's all about. You can see how to log in. And then there's some specific resources made to help you transition into using Everlaw and point out some of those pieces that may be a little bit more confusing for newer users. The last thing I want to point out is our new quick start about visual search. So this is included in our transition hub, and Alyssa's going to drop it in the chat for you to view as well. But this is just a quick start video. It's going to really dive into what visual search is, how it can be used, how it's different from maybe a more traditional DT search, and why we prefer it here at Everlaw. So again, those resources made specifically for people who may be used to another program or platform and need some help transitioning into the Everlaw workflows. Cool. So that wraps up our new features for this month. We'll definitely stick around if you have additional questions, but thank you for your time today. I hope these new features are helpful for you, and we look forward to seeing you next month.